Hello, CBC. It's Pastor Rob. It's Wednesday morning, the week after Easter. What many of our Christian traditions actually call Eastertide, which is the weeks after Easter all the way up to Pentecost. Because Jesus was on earth, he was ministering, he was busy, and of course it's this invitation for us to stay active in our faith. It would be horrible, as you can imagine, just to show up for Easter, celebrate the empty tomb, and then check out spiritually. So our faith is always calling us to active following. So I want to thank you, by the way, for your participation for Easter, for being engaged, for supportive. Many of you shared, invited others to be part of it. And it's obviously a big adjustment for us as a church to be so virtual at this point and not able to physically meet. We know that day will come, and yet this is our new reality. So thank you for showing up, for being engaged. Now, I want to just give you a little update. This weekend, as you probably already heard, is a brand new series called Built to Last. And it's about how we can develop resilient faith. And this is really important because, again, we've been through over a month of crisis and just trying to figure out what's happening. And yet now we're still going to be in that semi-quarantine state until who knows when. So how do we help our faith really grow? How do we help invite people to deeper faith? So this is about resilient faith, and you're going to hear 7 messages that really bring us back to some core principles, some core spiritual patterns. So Brett will bring the message this week. It's going to be a great message. Let me read the passage for you that will actually be part of this week's message in Matthew 22. And it's the passage of the greatest commandment. And you perhaps have heard this. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments. Now, the thing that we need to be aware of is that obviously love is the core way for us to think about who God is, his character, and it's certainly the core message Jesus gives. So when they come to test Jesus, this is all part of people doubting him, and the Sadducees ask him which is the greatest commandment. It's because there were 613 commandments in the Old Testament, and so it was kind of like their way of saying, well, let's see what he gives as an answer. So Jesus goes right back to the core in Deuteronomy, and he also takes from Leviticus, loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself. He puts those 2 pieces together and says, this is it. And you've heard those things before, I'm sure. The interesting thing is he says this is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Now, just to note, this is not 2 commands. It's 1 command with sort of 2 parts. Loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself. The command is love. And so some might have said it this way. There's a vertical aspect, our relationship with God, and there's a horizontal aspect, our relationship with people around us. So when he says the second is like it, he's not saying a second command. He's saying, in some ways, the second part, it's like it. How is it like it? In that it's also the first and greatest. Another way people have described it is think of a door jamb. You can see part of my office door in the back there. That swings on 2 hinges. A door can't swing on 1 hinge. So one door is swinging, and the command is to love, and the 2 parts are vertical and horizontal. Now, that's really important because too often Christians have fallen into sort of one-dimensional faith. They can get really spiritual with God, really deep with God, and everything's vertical, and they sort of forget our earth, our world, our problems, our reality, our neighbors. Or sometimes they get very engaged physically on earth with their neighbors, with a cause, which are all good things, and they forget the deeper life with God. Both go together. Both are essential in our faith. So, end of the day, here's a good question to sort of bring before our hearts, kind of reflecting on each day, and that is, how did I love God and love my neighbor today? How did I love God and love my neighbor today? The late Dallas Willard reminds us in this way about our discipleship. He says, discipleship is doing the next right thing. So when I start the day, what's the one thing God's putting in front of me that I can show my love to him directly to, and I can show my love to my neighbor? So let's ask God to prepare our hearts for this new series. We're going to look at, as I said, 7 of our spiritual practices. They'll probably sound familiar because if you've been through Rooted, we've talked about them in Rooted. We've practiced them. So I look forward to being connected with you in worship service this weekend. Thanks for chiming in to get the scriptures today. And if this is new for you to see it in video format and you want to make sure you get it in your inbox every day, just go to findcommunity.com/Bible reading. Well, may the Lord bless you and encourage you. We'll catch up with you later. God bless.